When I design a studio piece, I take into consideration how many people will be involved in it, and I might do a rough sketch of little items that might be placeholders to kind of get an idea of how this piece might look, and yet give free leeway to each individual artist to bring their own creativity to a piece.
The piece that I made for Mrs. Claus's cupboard is a mug. It's a Santa Claus mug, and actually in my work area here at Hallmark I have my favorite tools, my sculpting tools, in that mug, and I look at that every day, and that was the inspiration for that piece.
I'm thinking Mrs. Claus would have a fabulous cupboard full of wonderful things that she would have collected over the years. Wouldn't that be a wonderful piece for the artists to get involved and bring their own little look to each of the little pieces? So I thought, let's do that, you know. So we built Mrs. Claus's cupboard, and it has a kind of retro sort of feel that is reminiscent of my grandmother's kitchen.
I actually worked on the basket of cookies, and I chose that because I grew up next to both of my grandparents, and actually my grandmother would help us prepare cookies for the holidays, so it's very much a tradition for me that I've passed on to my daughter as well.
For Mrs. Claus's cupboard, one of the things that I did was the 3 little cookbooks. And the reason I did that was because I had won, a local grocery store had a contest, and I had made a peach crisp. It was my recipe, and I took it in, and I actually won. So that was a lot of fun, and it was neat to have that memory and to see it in the actual piece in the cupboard. That's why I chose those books.
Well, I did the the penguin salt and pepper shakers for Mrs. Claus's cupboard, and it was appropriate that I did those because I collect salt and pepper shakers myself, and also I love birds too, so penguins are birds and salt and pepper shakers, it was like a no-brainer.
What I did, my part was the muffin tin, where the muffins are shaped like Christmas trees. I've always kind of had a love for food molds, whether it's candy molds or Jell-O molds, those types of things. I do collect them, not on a huge scale, but I do collect those, and so it was great to kind of get to do something like this muffin tin.
I created the little penguin cookie jars that are on the bottom shelf, I would say. The reason I like those cookie jars is because my wife cooks a lot of cookies at Christmas time, and usually has the house really smelling wonderfully there. I usually end up bringing a batch in here to the Keepsakes group, and they really enjoy them too.
I was brought in to work on the cupboard itself as a whole piece, keeping in mind everyone else's contribution that was going to be going on to it. So I kind of brought in some of my background knowledge on working with wood.
I've always wanted to make a gingerbread house, especially when my kids were little, but I've never had time. Every year when Christmas time rolls around, I'm always too busy. I've got lots of things to do, and I've never had the chance to make a gingerbread house. And when the opportunity came up to make a little tiny gingerbread house for Mrs. Claus's cupboard, I jumped at the chance. I thought, oh, I can make a little tiny one. I have time for that. So maybe someday I'll get a chance to make a real one.
My contribution to the ornament was to do the present for Santa that was to be hiding on the top of the cupboard. And I thought of the pipe because my dad went through this phase where he took up the pipe for smoking because my mother complained too much of the cigar smell from him smoking cigars in the house or even outside the house or outside his car. And so I was always intrigued by the different pipes he started to collect and smoke from, and I loved the smell. And so I wanted to do something really special since it was Santa's pipe and what would be true and special to him. So it was a very fun piece to work on, in combination with that story of my dad.
I created the bottom tier of cupcakes on the pastry stand. What inspired me to create the cupcakes was because of my current series that I'm working on of cupcake ornaments.
I chose to sculpt a miniature teapot because I have a teapot collection myself. And I love teapots. I don't drink much tea anymore, drink coffee, but I do love teapots.
I made the star cookies on the treat stand, and making cookies has been a family tradition for a long time. My mom made cookies with us when we were little, and she's continued that tradition with my kids when they were little, came to our house, and when I was too busy to do that with the kids, she took time so that they could have that experience. And we still try to make cookies. It's still hard to fit that in, but cookies are an important part of Christmas for us.
When Edith first came to me, she said, well, what would you like to do on this? And I said, give me something that's small and in the background, because last year I had that entire front door on Santa's armoire. And I figured, that's enough Chad. Let's do a little Chad. And
so you did.
And so I did. And I go for Santa Clauses every time. Elves and Santa. Whenever there's a Santa face to do, I like to do it.
Edith, I think, knew, I kind of had the idea that she knew from the beginning where she wanted me. She was, in the designing of it, she had designed some holly leaves and some decorative things that weren't real specific, but I like to do details, so I just said I'd be glad to do the holly leaves. It was fun, and so that's why I did it.
Everyone seemed to enjoy adding their own little touches to each of the objects on the cupboard, and I just love seeing it come to life as each artist created their own little piece. And I think the results is just a charming little piece that I'm going to love having in my collection, and it's a wonderful remembrance of the studio at this period in time and all the people I work with. It's just something that I'm going to treasure, and I hope the collectors will also treasure this piece. As we were working on this studio piece, the idea was often brought up, wouldn't that be fabulous to have that as a full-size cupboard? And we're, oh yes, that would be wonderful. But then someone who was in the position to actually make that happen said, we need to do this. And so that would be my manager, Brad, who said, we need to do this. So I'm thinking, oh wow, that would be terrific. I'd love to see that happen. And we have the talent here at Hallmark. We have skilled craftsmen who could make this happen. So I was excited to be the leader of this project, to go ahead and create this full-size replica. And it's been a wonderful experience to work with our fine carpenters and mold makers and painters and craftsmen that I don't generally get to work with, but their talent is amazing, and I think that the end piece is really showcasing what the talented people at Hallmark can do. As wonderful as this full-size cabinet's going to be, we were concerned that only one person would be able to take this home. So we had the idea of, wouldn't it be great to create these 24-inch size ones and do several of them, so more people would have the opportunity to, you know, kind of enjoy this little larger versions of the original ornament. And our idea behind this was, wouldn't this be a great display ornament for a collection of, you know, food or kitchen themed Christmas ornaments? And so we designed it a little differently. It doesn't have as many shelves as the original, but we wanted the piece to accommodate an ornament collection that someone might like to display.